I read a lot of student papers, and I've got to tell you, it seems from my perspective that good writing is a dying art. So in this short video, what I want to do is show you some of the basic components of crafting a good paragraph. There are three key parts of a paragraph, and that's the topic sentence, the supporting details, and the closing sentence. The topic sentence is the first sentence in the paragraph, and it introduces the main idea of the paragraph. So continuing on the topic of Abraham introduced in my previous videos, here's a good topic sentence that introduces the life of Abraham. It says this: Abraham led a long life full of many difficulties. Very short, concise, and to the point of what this paragraph is going to be about. So with a good topic sentence, now I need some supporting details. And these supporting details come in the form of sentences after the topic sentence, making up the body of the paragraph. And supporting sentences give details that develop and support the main idea of the paragraph. So they have to build on whatever is introduced in that very first topic sentence. So continuing then with our sample paragraph, the supporting details read, called by God, Abraham left his homeland and all his family. Abraham's wife Sarah encouraged him to have a baby with her slave Hagar. Genesis 22 records a dramatic story of how God tested his faith with the near sacrifice of his son Isaac. Sarah died and Abraham felt alone and isolated. So all of those sentences support that main topic sentence that Abraham led a long life full of many difficulties. So this describes his life and the difficulties he encountered. Finally, we need a good closing sentence. And the closing sentence is the last sentence in the paragraph, and it restates the main idea of the paragraph using different words. So in our example, after many years of family strife and difficulty, Abraham died at age 175 and was buried with Sarah in the cave of Machpelah. So there we have this closing sentence. It tells us the length of Abraham's life. There's his long life, and it's summarized again after a lot of family strife and difficulty. Both concepts stated in the opening topic sentence, but just now in different words and building a little bit upon some of the information in our supporting sentences. So now that you know what you're looking to do when you're writing a paragraph and those three key components, here's some information that will help you maybe with pre-writing your paragraphs, looking ahead to say, what am I going to write about? So step one, think carefully how you'll answer the question raised in your thesis statement. Everything needs to come and build around that thesis statement. Then you want to write out your initial questions you want to answer in a notebook or however you record that. That's fine. Then you want to research the facts and information related to each of the main questions you want to answer. Then you organize your questions into main ideas and frame them into topic sentences. And then step 5, you want to organize your research facts around each of your topic sentences. So basically what you've done so far is you've come up with a research question, a research topic, and now you've created a series of questions you want to answer. Turn those questions into statements, done your research. Now organize all that research around those and create paragraphs that show that you're able to answer all of those questions you started out with. And that's going to be the essence of what a good paper is about by pre-writing each paragraph to make sure it's tied back into that main thesis statement. So then what you've done now, after you've created those each topic sentences, again, you want to take each sentence, put your research facts, write the supporting sentences and the closing sentences. Number 1, make sure each sentence is focused on the topic sentence. Check your spelling. Check your grammar. Number 4, read your paragraph again. Sometimes actually, one suggestion, read them out loud. Don't just read it silently in your head, but if you read it out loud, you catch things that sometimes your mind just skips over when you read silently. Make sure each sentence has a subject. See if your subject and verbs agree with each other. I find this a lot of cases one of the biggest problems I come across. Number 7, check verb tense of each sentence. Make sure that each sentence makes sense and make sure your paragraph is interesting. Probably the most important thing about the whole idea of paragraph writing is please make your stuff interesting. Make it something somebody wants to read. By just reading that first topic sentence, they say, man, I want to read the rest of this paragraph. All right, with those hints about writing good paragraphs, let me show you a little bit of the different types of paragraphs. And to do this, you can refer to Kate Turabian's Student Guide for Writing College Papers, and she outlines specifically all of these types of paragraphs. There's choice, classification, compare and contrast, definition, description, evaluation, explanation, and sequence. And here's a quick summary of each one. A choice paragraph requires a decision between objects, ideas, or actions. Often you will need to give your opinion on a choice of actions or events. So if it's a point of view paragraph, you'd say things like in my opinion, or I believe, or from my perspective. Personal opinion has words like, dislike, hope, feel. Now, I'll say this now about all of these paragraphs. Not all of these have their place in theological research and writing. It depends on the kind of paper you're writing. It depends on the purpose of the paper. So understand that in a paper that you're doing an exegesis of a passage, it's less about what you believe or your opinion and more about exegeting facts and history and language and culture. So you may not have this kind of a choice paragraph in that paper. But if you're writing something on worldviews, which is another course I teach, you are going to have sentences that'll do in my opinion or I believe, or you're making conclusion statements about worldviews and ideas. So in that kind of a paper, it may have a good place. So know the kinds of sentence that are appropriate to the kind of research you're doing, the type of topic you're studying, and make sure you don't use the wrong types of paragraphs to reinforce your point that you're making. So the next one then is classification paragraphs, which group things or ideas into specific categories. It'll have a lot of helper words like is a kind of, can be divided into, is a type of. So those are some examples of the phrases you'll hear in a classification paragraph. In a compare and contrast paragraph, you write about the similarities and differences between two or more people, places, things, or ideas. So if there's similarities, you have words like is similar to, both, also, to, as well. If it's a difference, you have, on the other hand, however, but, in contrast. So those are some of the key words that would identify this compare and contrast paragraph. A definition paragraph simply explains a thing, a concept, or idea. So, for example, it'll have things like, is defined as, and here's a sample sentence. A pest is defined as any animal or plant that damages crops, forests, or property. You might have the keywords is similar to or is a kind of. An example sentence of that is, a pest is a kind of animal or plant that damages crops, forests, or properties. In our next paragraph type, we have a description paragraph. In a description paragraph, you are writing about what a person, place, or thing is like. Sometimes you will describe where a place is located. So properties, size, color, measurement, length, width, height, speed, analogy, is like, resembles, location, in, above, below, beside. All of these are words you would use in a descriptive paragraph. In an evaluation paragraph, you make judgments about people, ideas, or possible actions. You state your evaluation or recommendation and then support it by referring to your research. So criteria for evaluation would be good, bad, correct, incorrect, normal, abnormal. Recommendations might be suggest, recommend, advise, argue. So key phrases like I would argue or I advise. Those are going to be the things that distinguish the evaluation paragraph. Then we have the explanation paragraph. In an explanation paragraph, you explain how or why something happens. So if you're looking at a cause, you would words like because, since, as a result of, is due to. An effect would be therefore, thus, consequently, hence, it follows that, or an if-then statement. And then there's the sequence paragraph. In a sequence paragraph, you describe a series of events or a process. Order is something like first, second, third, in the beginning, before, then, after, finally. If it's a time-based sequence, you'd have things like recently, previously, afterwards. All right, those are all your key sentence types, and now you know how to write good paragraphs, how to pre-write them, how to incorporate your research, and then how to use specific kinds of paragraphs to make sure your information is conveyed in a clear, concise, persuasive, and interesting manner. So head to the library, have some fun doing your research and writing.